I have Justin Fields being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers and for Justin Fields to be their starting quarterback in 2024. You put Justin Fields with a very aggressive defense that Pittsburgh has, a great running game, an improving offensive line, a very good wide receiving core, and Mike Tomlin. Now you got something scary going on in Pittsburgh to add on to the already aggressive and tough AFC North. I think that's something that we should not rule out. Pittsburgh clearly is in need of a quarterback. They are not sure about Kenny Pickett. Justin Fields has especially in the second half of this season, impressed to the point where I believe he's made himself back into a tradable commodity. I think Chicago can definitely get some picks for him. They can also draft Caleb Williams and start over. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would definitely benefit from this trade as well because they'll get the quarterback piece that they need, who is not only a danger throwing the football, he is very good in the run game. And that fits very well with what Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers like to do. Now, for Kirk Cousins, I think this was his last year in Minnesota. I think he's definitely going to move on. A team to look out for Kirk Cousins, I think, is the Atlanta Falcons. Again, another team that has started to really establish, needs that they have. They have Bijan Robinson in the running game. They got Drake London on the outside. They got Kyle Pitts at tight end. What was missing was consistent quarterback play. They turned to Desmond Ritter, hoping that there would be some improvement there, but that hasn't really shown consistently because he's gotten benched twice for Taylor Heineke. Very serviceable backup. You love the story about Taylor Heineke, but is he really your long-term future? Probably not. Kirk Cousins might not be your long-term future, but I think he could be a very good 1-2 year starting quarterback to kind of stabilize this team and potentially get this team to new heights, reaching the playoffs and maybe get a playoff win or two. I talked a little bit about last week how, okay, Dak Prescott might be out there. There's a lot of turmoil going on with the Cowboys. Is Dak fed up? Could he ask for a trade? I don't think that's really going to happen, but I think the more reasonable move that Atlanta could make, if they don't make moves in the draft, go after Kirk Cousins for a 1 or 2 year deal and see what you can get out of there. It's pretty clear that Derrick Henry is done in Tennessee. I think it's foregone conclusion that Saquon Barkley is done in New York, especially after holding out last year, trying to get a long-term deal, and then they end up agreeing to just another 1 year deal. Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry will be a Raven next year. We just have to wait and see who that's going to be. Both, again, dynamic running backs would fit very well with this offense that the Ravens are building with Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson. I think it really could be a difference maker for the Ravens when it comes to what we saw in the AFC Championship. They struggled to run the football because of the looks that Kansas City was giving them. If you put a guy like Saquon Barkley in the backfield, you got to threaten the running game. You got to threaten the short passing game because he's a very good catcher out of the backfield. And with Derrick Henry, you got an absolute bulldozer that is all power running, very difficult to stop no matter what defense you're playing against. You can stack the box and Derrick Henry can still take it 8 to 10 yards on any given carry. So if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm looking at these two guys. I think one of them will end up a Raven. Mike Evans is going to be a big prime target this offseason. He's quietly just continued to be so consistent as a wide receiver with just, I think every season he's been in the league, he's had a 1,000-yard season. And it doesn't get talked about a lot because Tampa Bay has, kind of been up and down, up and down. Then they got Brady. Now all of a sudden Mike Evans is being featured more. He's being talked about more. Ever since Brady retired, Mike Evans hasn't dropped off. He's continued to play well, even with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. I think Mike Evans deserves to be on a contender. He has more than paid his dues with Tampa. I think Tampa needs to do right by him and make sure that they allow him to test free agency and help him get to a contender. I see Mike Evans becoming a member of the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills as my top two. I'm going to be a homer a little bit and say maybe there's an outside chance that the Ravens can sign him. I don't really see it happening, but more realistically, I think Mike Evans, if he were to leave Tampa Bay, the top two teams that I think of off the top of my head are in the AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills.